May 2014, Bharatiya Janata Party had won a majority in the general elections with 282 seats in the Lok Sabha. More like LOL Sabha. Okay, no, snarky remarks later. Meghnad, calm down. Okay, let's do that again. May 2014, the Bharatiya Janata Party had won a majority in the general elections with 282 seats in the Lok Sabha. Modi walked towards the circular parliament building, towards gate number 1, and he stopped, bent down, and touched his head on the floor. A clear sign of reverence towards this institution, or so we thought. After that, he entered the Central Hall of Parliament and gave his first speech. And he got kind of emotional while doing that.
अडवाणी जी ने एक शब्द प्रयोग किया. उन्होंने कहा, नरेंद्र भाई ने कृपा की. क्या मां की सेवा कभी कृपा हो सकती है? कतई नहीं हो सकती.
Narendra Modi got emotional after Advani thanked him for doing a favor. He said, "Serving your mother can never be seen as a favor." You might remember this part of it. You must have seen it being memed around over the last decade because, he cried. But there is another thing he said after that which is important.
जैसे भारत मेरी मां है, वैसे ही भाजपा भी मेरी मां है.
Like India is my mother, the Bharatiya Janata Party is also my mother. This was a very important statement which displayed his mindset. Modi wanted to project himself as a party man, someone who loves his country, sure, but also loves his political party equally. In the decade that followed, Modi has lived up to this. He has ensured that his political party and himself systematically gain more power by destroying the institution that gives him that power. It's a bit of a paradox, I know. You'll get what I mean after watching this long, unhinged, strange, bizarre video that goes into all sorts of places, but then also blows your mind. So stick till the end if you can. Okay, so in the last week of December 2023, which was last year, we had the final session of Parliament before the 2024 general elections. In the final week of that session, all hell broke loose. On December 13th, two people broke through Parliament security, jumped off the Lok Sabha balcony, and threw gas canisters in the house. This was a massive security breach, and the opposition was asking questions about how this happened. How can you let this happen? Modi ji or Amit Shah ji? They demanded that the Home Minister should come in the house and give a statement. But he didn't. Instead, the Speaker of Lok Sabha and Chairman of Rajya Sabha casually suspended 146 opposition MPs from Parliament and allowed the passage of 12 bills in 4 days. Minimum discussion happened, opposition was kinda absent, and the situation got so bizarre that BJP MPs had to pretend that the bills their government proposed has problems, and then they also turned around and said how those are not really problems.
एक और मुद्दा जिसकी चर्चा विपक्ष करता है कि देश के हित में राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा के कारणों से अगर आवश्यकता पड़ी तो टेलीकॉम सर्विसेज को सरकार अपने हाथ में ले सकती है. इसकी भी कई बार आलोचना होती है, लेकिन अमेरिका में 26/11 की घटना घटी या बड़े-बड़े जब तूफान आते हैं तो उस समय सरकार की ये मजबूरी हो जाती कि पूरे टेलीकॉम सर्विस को अस्थायी तौर पर और वो अपने हाथ में ले सके.
Yeah, so BJP MP Sushil Modi first assumes that the opposition would criticize taking over entire communications networks, by the government, and then he defends it himself by bringing up terrorism in the United States of America and natural disasters, I guess. Totally makes sense. On the other hand, we had literal poetry reading happening in Rajya Sabha. And of course, it was praising and hailing Supreme Leader Shri Sir, Adarniya Sir, Modi ji. Of course.
सोने की चिड़िया देश मेरा था सिकंजा गिद्धों के पंजों का सोने की चिड़िया देश मेरा था सिकंजा गिद्धों के पंजों का लोकतंत्र की खूबसूरती हर संसाधन है जनता का संचित निधि है जनता की रखवाला है सरकार मेरी देश बढ़े आगे मेरा हित प्रिपरेशन ले आई निर्मला जी झंझावत झेले हमने कभी कोविड तो कभी यूक्रेन युद्ध आया क्या फर्क पड़ा मेरे मोदी को देश का विकास ले आया 10वें नंबर की अर्थव्यवस्था 5वें पर है 8वीं इस बार 3रे नंबर पर ये गारंटी है मोदी की धन्यवाद है मोदी जी धन्यवाद है सीतारमण निर्यात बढ़ रहा भारत का 43 ट्रिलियन तक ले जाना धन्य धन्य है मोदी जी भारत ने तो पूजा ही है विश्व ने भी है पहचाना गारंटी है मोदी की 2047 तक विकसित भारत बना जाना
Yes, I have translated that in English painfully, but I hope I managed to make it funnier because it is funny. It's also very, very cringe. You're welcome. It's been almost 10 years since Modi bowed down before the institution of parliament, and now it's almost like we don't have a parliament anymore. Oh, and it went from a circle to a triangle. Yeah, that also happened. But how did we get here? How the did this happen? Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Modi Review. I'm on a journey to document all of the stuff that Narendra Modi government has done in the past decade. If you haven't seen the last 3 episodes, do go and give them a little bit of a look-see. If I may say so myself, काफी good quality content, very enjoyable, काफी bingeable, yeah. Or you can go see them after this episode. No stress, links are below. You do you. Don't let anyone tell you what to do, my dear internet friends. Alright, so this episode is going to be a bit personal for me. I came to Delhi back in 2011 to join a fellowship called Legislative Assistants to Members of Parliament, or LAMP. Wait, I'll just show you, I guess.
So before I joined LAMP, I was a freelance journalist with a newspaper. And what I learned while working there for a year was that there are many loopholes that need to be filled in this system. We lack a lot of things that we really need to understand. And so the best way to go about it was to understand the whole system. If somebody intends to make a change in the system, he actually needs to understand it first. So lawmaking and policy making was the first thing I thought of. And then this program, then I stumbled upon it, and it actually offered me what I really wanted to learn. I just wanted to learn more about the system, and that's what it does.
Oh, you sweet summer child. You have no idea how your life is going to turn out, do you? Understand the system if you want to make a change in it. It will break your brain, child. It will break your brain. Anyway, this summer child was assigned to work with a member of parliament for a year, help them with research, write speeches, file questions in parliament, and basically help them become better as public representatives. And since I was a general loser child when I started off, evidently, over the year I realized, I think I'm actually good at this understanding the system shit. So I just kept doing that for 6 more years. I was jumping from one neta to another, worked with MPs from Sikkim, Bengal, Haryana, Delhi, Odisha, amongst a few. But what spurred me on was a deeper reason, a bigger reason. The reason is I kind of fell in love with the Indian Parliament. Okay, not kidding, because I have even tweeted out stuff like this. Hi all, let me introduce you to the love of my life. Stunningly beautiful, isn't she? Shy face smiley. Every single day I'm stunned by its complexity and chaos within. People of all religions, caste, creed, languages mull around frantically. MPs are just a chaotic explosion of farmers, engineers, businessmen, journalists, lawyers, all adorned in different colors and clothes. The sheer amount of languages one hears is mind-boggling. Ideas being shared, political gossip, or just general bitching, all worth hearing. Our parliament is a collection of the voices of 1.2 billion Indians, a whole bloody country, housed within a big fat circular building. When one goes here every day, feels the feels, one can't help but adore the whole system, worship it, be amazed by it, fall in love with it. Does all of this count as patriotism and love for the nation? I think it does. And I want the choice to define this love and devotion myself. I genuinely still believe that. I love that place so much that I wrote an entire book on it as well, which is littered with emo moments like that one, capturing how attached I am to this institution. It's in the form of a political satire. You will have to read between the lines, but link is below. Buy and read. So over the last 13 years of following the happenings in Parliament, I have also seen it dying a slow and steady death. It's really sad. I mean, yeah, it is sad. It's like watching one of your favorite grandparents slowly withering away and approaching their death. All you can do is sit by their bedside and watch and deal with it. This is the episode where I am going to tell you how my favorite grandparent is withering away and dying while I'm sitting on the bedside and watching, I guess. This is the episode where I tell you how Narendra Modi destroyed my beloved parliament. And I'm pissed off. November 2014. The State Legislative Assembly of Gujarat had assembled for its winter session. On the last day, Congress MLA from Jamnagar, Raghavji Patel, interrupted the proceedings of the House and insisted for a debate on the MSP being offered to cotton growing farmers. He claimed that the MSP was very low and the government needs to do something about it. Additionally, he accused the Speaker of not including his question on MSP during the question hour. The Speaker of the Assembly, Ganpat Vaswa, stopped him from bringing up the issue, and then chaos ensued. Sloganeering started, people came in with placards and stormed the well of the House, and then Vaswa suspended 20 of those MLAs that were protesting. Sounds familiar? Yeah. Wait, there's more. March 2016. On the second last day of the Gujarat Assembly budget session, Congress MLAs started a protest over the Patidar reservation issue. They also wanted the government to discuss a CAG report that drew attention to lapses in the government's administration. Amidst the chaos and disruption, Health Minister Nitin Patel got up and moved a proposal to suspend 55 Congress MLAs. And as you can guess, the proposal went through and the Speaker suspended the MLAs for the remainder of the session. Here's one more. On February 2018, 15 MLAs were suspended in a similar fashion. Yes, in Gujarat Assembly, suspending the opposition when it starts to protest seems to be a regular affair. Modi ji just took that style of functioning from the Gujarat Assembly, pressed Ctrl C, copied it, and Ctrl V'd it on our parliament. You can see it being used over the past few years. Suspensions happen all the time, practically in every session now. Let me throw some fun numbers at you. This is how the Gujarat Assembly functioned between 2008 and 2012 when Modi was the Chief Minister. Number of working days, 31 per year. By comparison, Lok Sabha functioned for 66 days a year. Number of bills passed, 87. Out of these, 80 bills were passed on the same day they were introduced, practically making debate and deliberations on the bills impossible. None of these bills were sent to a committee for further scrutiny. In 2011 budget session, 21 bills were introduced and passed in 3 days. Yes, 3 days, 21 new laws. Again, does this sound familiar to you? Because that is precisely how the Indian Parliament has been functioning lately. You, my dear viewer, must be wondering, what is this committee business? Why send bill to committee? What is this introduction and passing? What is happening? I don't get any of this. I should just tune out. No, don't tune out. At least some of you might be a bit clueless about how significant all of this is. But on this nerdy ass channel, we don't assume that you know anything at all. Yeah, we assume you know jack shit and we start from scratch. So yes, before I tell you how Adarniya Shri Sir, Adarniya Honorable Supreme Leader destroyed Parliament, let me tell you why we have a Parliament at all. Why do we need this? What is introduction? What is this? What is the point of Parliament? And why should you care? Okay, my dear nerdy friendos, I'm going to go a bit basic on you right now. If you feel you are too smart for this section and don't need me to tell you why Parliament matters, you can just skip this chapter. There are time codes below. But if you decide to stay, I promise you much amusement. So stay. Let's go. You, yes, you are a citizen of India. What does that mean? It's like a club membership which you get by birth. If you are a citizen, you have some basic rights as a member of this country. Like you are allowed to live and travel and speak and practice your religion freely. But all of this comes with some conditions apply type thing. Your basic rights are subject to political, social, moral, ethical and market risks. Please read the constitution carefully before exercising said rights and outraging about how said rights are being violated by an authoritarian regime trying to grab and perpetuate power. One of your rights is the right to vote. You get to cast a vote in favor of your favorite candidate. It's a candidate who you think would be able to represent you in the best way possible. Once you vote and if the candidate wins, they go to parliament. They become a member of parliament, an MP. Think of the parliament like a stage where the actor who wins an election kind of ends up on. On that stage, the MP has a loudspeaker, but you, yes, you, the citizen in the audience, actually have the microphone and you scream your heads off. Your voice is amplified by your MP and uttered on this grand stage. On the same stage, we have the government who is listening to everything, taking feedback and acting on that feedback. Okay, that's the simple version. Let's add some complexity to it. It's a nerdy channel. It gets complex. Each of your representatives belongs to a political party. It's like a team that plays some sport. You might vote for them because you like the player or because you like the team generally. Once a bunch of players from the same team get elected, end up in parliament and form a majority, they get to form a government. Once in government, these people can control executives, spend taxpayer money, build roads, get rid of the money in your pockets overnight, impose a crazy lockdown to protect you from a virus, launch new trains that hit cows on tracks sometimes, and also put up selfie booths outside railway station. All of this very, very fun shit, clearly. Oh yeah, and they also make shiny new laws which apply to like 1 billion plus people. Yeah, they also do that. All of this that I just told you ideally happens through the parliament. More like with the permission of the parliament. So if you, the citizen, is not satisfied with something that the government is doing, you are expected to use the microphone you have and scream into it. Then you have to hope that the loudspeaker in parliament, your MP, is functioning and taking your voice forward so that it reaches the government. Then you also have to hope that the government listens, responds and does something about your problem. Yeah, that's basically it. The parliament is empowering you, the citizen, by giving you a forum with a representative so that your demands matter. That representative will also vote on laws and policies that make your life better. Democracy achieved. Well done. Okay, wait. Need to add another layer of complexity to this. What if you vote for a representative who is not a part of the winning team? What if they win and get into parliament anyway? Yeah, that's when your MP ends up in the opposition. Just that the volume of this loudspeaker now needs to be a bit louder because the government needs to be challenged, questioned, and criticized. Did you hear me? I'll repeat this because it's very important. The singular job of MPs in the opposition is to challenge, question, and criticize the government. The government are essentially the people who have the power to control taxpayer money and decide how to spend it. And the government has to listen, respond, and do something about all of these complaints that it is hearing from the opposition and other MPs as well. Because these are complaints from you. In an ideal scenario, everyone except the people in government are the opposition. Doesn't matter which party you support, you should be questioning the people in power anyway, because that is democracy in its very basic essence. Democracy lets every citizen question and challenge the people in power. Simple enough, isn't it? Yeah, that's the point of parliament. Yeah, that's why it matters. Okay, now that we are done with the ideal theoretical scenario, let me present an alternative to you. What if you are a megalomaniac leader type who is like, so I want all the power and none of the accountability. I mean, screw all of these annoying loudspeakers. Loudspeakers are annoying. Why should I listen to them? I know everything. I am amazeballs. I have amazing photos and videos taken of me all the time where I look glorious and I have the power. What happens then? So let's do another version of this. You, yes, you are a citizen of India. What does that mean? It's like a club membership which you get by birth. If you are a citizen, you have some basic rights, like you are allowed to live and travel and speak and practice your religion. But wait, your rights only matter if the authority in power wants them to matter. Otherwise, too bad for you, lovely citizen. Your club membership can be just cancelled whenever they feel like it. क्या कर सकते हैं? One of your rights is to vote. You vote for the person you like or the party you like. And if they win, they end up in parliament. The parliament is like a stage where everything is made up and nothing really matters. I mean, come on. What happens on a stage? You know what happens on a stage? They put up a show. They entertain. They make you laugh, cry, outrage, invoke an emotional response from you. Yes, actors do that. You vote for an actor who is expected to do that, or at least they'll do some good old poetry reading, I guess.
धन्य धन्य है मोदी जी, भारत ने तो पूजा ही है, विश्व ने भी है पहचाना, गारंटी है मोदी की 2047 तक विकसित भारत बना जाना.
See what I mean? Actors on a stage. Anyway, some of these actors belong to one political party that gets a majority, and then they choose the main lead who ultimately rules over everyone, picks the cabinet, and appears on TV at 8 p.m. in the night and cancels the notes in your pockets because he can. So what if you vote for a person who is not a part of the winning team? What if they end up in the opposition? What if your MP is in the opposition? Yeah, then the lead actor and his band of other actors can do some very, very fun things to make sure that your representatives are pointless. The main lead can ensure that laws are brought in at the last moment, giving your MP very less time to read or even think about them. And then it can be bulldozed through parliament with a simple voice vote, ignoring all suggestions and demands in total. Oh, wait, you can also do worse than that. When the parliament is not not functioning, when they are not sitting, the government can just ask the president to sign on a paper and pass a law as an ordinance. Like, the permission of the parliament can be completely overlooked and ignored. Yes, that is also a thing, my friends. Or the simplest thing for you to do is to just remove these annoying loudspeakers from the parliament itself. The government folks can move a motion to just suspend and expel MPs from parliament, and the speaker can put it up for vote, and boom, loudspeakers gone, thrown out only. And while these are gone, you can bring in one law after the other, ramrod it through parliament while your MPs are doing poetry reading and just get them passed. Yes, you can do that. Oh wait, you can also do one more fun thing.
A huge political furor had erupted after Kalyan Banerjee had been mimicking Vice President Dhankar while Congress MP Rahul Gandhi was seen filming the act. Dhankar on Sunday called himself a sufferer and added that he would always take the path of righteousness.
Take all offense. I am a sufferer. A sufferer knows how to withstand from inside. Take all offense, all insults with one direction. We are in the service of our Bharat Mata.
You can find a random non-issue while all of this is happening. You know, like an MP doing a funny mimicry on the Speaker of the House outside the Parliament. And then the media can turn that into an issue and outrage about how the Parliament and its mighty speakers have been disrespected while completely ignoring the laws being bulldozed through, MPs getting kicked out, and how the Parliament has become utterly and fucking pointless.
BJP said Kalyan and TMC's arrogance is at its peak.
देखिए, कोई किसी को असंस्कार के लिए जेल नहीं भेजता है, लेकिन अगर तृणमूल कांग्रेस वाले ममता जी की दम पे, कल्याण बनर्जी हो या कोई भी हो, अहंकार उनकी चरम पे है। पिछड़े वर्ग से आए हुआ लोगों का ऐसे मजाक उड़ाएंगे, प्रजातंत्र में उनको कभी भी जनता माफ नहीं करेगी।
आप एक सीनियर लॉयर हैं, सीनियर लीडर हैं, एमपी हैं। आपको क्या करना, किसके बारे में करना? देश के संवैधानिक पद पर उपराष्ट्रपति हैं, उनके बारे में करना है क्या? ममता बनर्जी के बारे में करो ना, और मजा आएगा। राहुल गांधी के बारे में, अभिषेक बनर्जी के बारे में करो ना, और अभी मजा आएगा।
Yeah, I think megalomaniacs will do that. Anyway, I think I need to calm down a little bit, and so do you. So it's time for... things I have to do, the things I have to do to keep you amused and calm and mentally fit is amazing. What is this, yeah? What is this, yeah? I hope you're having a good time. I hope you're enjoying this episode, and it is going to be a long one, as you can see. But yeah, I think, like, share, subscribe, and if you want, please do consider supporting me by joining and becoming a member. You can come into our Discord. I do a ton of live streams now. You can come and talk to me and become famous as well. Yes, you can, I guess. Why not? Use me. Use me, everyone. Use me. Use my reach and power to become famous. Do it. Yeah. Okay, so it's time for chapter 3, friends. Chapter 3. What is the word? What is the chapter 3? Chapter 3 is another existential crisis as usual. Let's go. In the last chapter, I gave you two scenarios. One is the ideal scenario where Parliament as an institution is functioning as it is supposed to and also holding the government accountable. The second scenario is where the government doesn't want to be held accountable, so it will do all it can to make the Parliament irrelevant. Right now, we are living through scenario number 2. If you haven't already guessed that by now, thought I should make it obvious. And I want to tell you about all the wonderful ways in which the Modi government has made our parliament utterly pointless. Number 1, bulldozing. In the last week of the winter session, where 146 MPs were suspended and not allowed to attend the sittings, the government pushed through 12 bills in 4 days from both houses. An appropriation bill which allows the government to spend taxpayer money was passed after a discussion of a whole 16 minutes in Rajya Sabha. A law which hands over the powers to the Prime Minister for appointing the election commissioners was passed after a discussion in the Lok Sabha for 2 hours. Election commissioners are, just the people who ensure that our elections are free and fair. Another law which completely regulates all forms of communication in India allows the government to intercept and detain messages, shut down and control all networks of communication, and more casual stuff like that was passed after a discussion of 1 hour in the Rajya Sabha. No opposition MPs spoke on this bill, so it created awkward situations where BJP MPs were making arguments on behalf of the opposition, then countering those arguments themselves. That happened. I think you already saw that clip in the beginning. फिर से प्ले कर दे.
एक और मुद्दा जिसकी चर्चा विपक्ष करता है कि देश के हित में नेशनल राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा के कारणों से अगर आवश्यकता पड़ी तो टेलीकॉम सर्विसेज को सरकार अपने हाथ में ले सकती है. इसकी भी कई बार आलोचना होती है, लेकिन अमेरिका में 26/11 की घटना घटी या बड़े जब तूफान आते हैं तो उस समय सरकार की ये मजबूरी हो जाती है कि पूरे टेलीकॉम सर्विस को अस्थायी तौर पर और वो अपने हाथ में ले सके.
The government of the day is very eager to bulldoze bills through and turn them into laws. In short, they're trying to bulldoze them. And you can see this happening time and again over the last 10 years. During the peak of COVID-19 pandemic in September 2020, the government brought in the 3 farm laws. These were laws that were facing a massive opposition from the farmers all across, led to a long protest of farmers camping at the borders of Delhi and staying like that for an entire year. These 3 bills were passed by the government in Rajya Sabha during scenes of absolute chaos and disruption. The opposition was screaming and shouting while the chairman was being a chill guy and conducting voice voting. Nikalo isko, nikalo.
What exactly does Rajya Sabha Television's own footage show? Take a look at what exactly happened in the House. Was this all cleared through a voice vote correctly according to the rule book?
This is the CPM leader KK Rajesh at his seat in the upper gallery of the Rajya Sabha on the 20th of September. Tiruchi Siva, DMK MP, is saying the same demand.
That the bill be passed. Motion moved that the bill be passed.
Instead, the deputy chairman of the Rajya Sabha, who was presiding, did this.
Say aye. Those against it, please raise their hands and say no.
He pushed through the farmer bills through a voice vote.
The bill is passed.
Opposition leaders say Harivansh Singh's conduct that day was in violation of at least 3 parliamentary laws.
Those in favor will please raise their hands and say aye. Those against it, please raise their hands.
In this case, the most important rule being Rule 252, which says that if a decision of a Rajya Sabha question is challenged, he shall order a division to be held under which the votes can be recorded and the matter decided.
Raise their hands and say aye.
In this case, opposition MPs, as the Rajya Sabha video indicates, quite clearly asked for a division. This wasn't considered. Opposition leaders argue that Rule 37, which calls for the chair to get a sense of the House before deciding on extending a session, was not being considered. Even though at least 12 parties wanted the House to adjourn as planned at 1 p.m. so that voting on the bills could be taken up the following day.
This is significant because exactly a year later, the Modi government repealed those very laws. And even the cancellation process of, cancelling the actual law that was proposed in parliament, that took an entire 4 minutes. 4 minutes. When this was happening, the opposition wanted to discuss the agriculture situation in the country. This is actually a good opportunity to do it, to suggest alternate laws which would have the consensus of the farmers sitting at the Delhi borders. But no, the government didn't want that and then just took back the 3 laws in 4 minutes. Yeah. While taking back the laws, Modi ji had appeared on TV and said this.
मैं आज देशवासियों से क्षमा मांगते हुए सच्चे मन से और पवित्र हृदय से कहना चाहता हूं कि शायद हमारी तपस्या में ही कोई कमी रही होगी जिसके कारण दिए के प्रकाश जैसा सत्य कुछ किसान भाइयों को हम समझा नहीं पाए। आज मैं आपको पूरे देश को ये बताने आया हूं कि हमने 3 कृषि कानूनों को वापस लेने का, रिपील करने का निर्णय लिया है।
Please note that he didn't apologize for that mistake. He said they should have tried harder. The government should have tried harder to convince farmers about the law. And when they actually got a chance to hear out what the farmers have to say, what the opposition has to say, and fix that mistake using the parliament where it's supposed to be done, they didn't. They just 4 minutes. 4 minutes is all it took to just take back the 3 laws, scrap the whole thing, and then ignore all and every suggestions to improve agriculture sector in our country. That happened. I don't know about you, but it makes me really sad to see things like this happening. In the current Lok Sabha, 64 out of the 172 bills that have been passed were passed with less than an hour of discussion. In Rajya Sabha, 61 bills were passed with less than an hour of discussion. Simply put, your loudspeakers, your MPs aren't even getting the time to speak on most of these bills that would affect our collective lives. And I know what some of you must be thinking right now. Oh! But didn't the UPA government, the Congress government do this whole bulldozing nonsense also? Yeah, they did. Way back, yeah, they did. I remember, yes, they did. You're correct. Way back in 2008, the UPA 2 government passed the controversial Section 66A of the IT Act. It's just a casual law which allowed the government to jail people for saying shit online. Yeah, that law was cleared in a flat 8 minutes, clubbed up with 10 other bills. Yeah, that also happened. I'm not here to say that the previous government did a great job of running parliament. Yeah, no, I'm not here to say that. But my focus for this video is on this government. You know why? Because it is the current government which is supposed to improve shit, not make things worse or repeat the terrible behaviors of the past. No, they shouldn't do that. Speaking of terrible behavior, Number 2, low sittings. Our parliament barely works. Since 2000s, the average parliament sitting days have been declining and it is at an average of 68 days a year. For comparison, between 1952 and 1970, the average annual sitting days of parliament was 121 days. 121 days. Double of what it is right now. Let me put this in perspective a little bit. A year has 365 days. Remove 104 weekends, remove 25 days for holidays and leaves, we would end up with 236 days. You, as a normal person who does a job, are someone who works for approximately 236 days a year. Let's look at the parliament. First, they have sittings where MPs have to attend the house, read laws, pass laws, debate, and discuss and then decide. In 2022, the parliament had 57 sittings. Other than that, each member is a part of at least one committee, and each committee has a meeting at least once a month. So, add in 12 days into that and we get 69 days. So, in 2022, you worked for 236 days a year at your job, and an average MP officially worked for 69 days at their jobs. That should make you feel like a little shit. Yeah. Compared to this, in the UK and US, their parliament equivalent institutions function for an average of 120 days per year. Double of what we have right now. So over the years, there has been a declining trend in parliament functioning. Even the last winter session and the special session was cut short by a day because the government just felt like it. Early chutti. It's almost as if the government doesn't want these sittings to happen, because it would provide less opportunity for our loudspeakers to do their thing in a place where they're supposed to be doing their thing. Less sittings equals less accountability. So simple. Very simple. Number 3, Ordinance Raj. In the first 7 years of the Modi Raj, the government passed 76 bills using the ordinance route. What is an ordinance? Bring in the shitty graphics again. Remember when I told you how the parliament is ideally supposed to function? Yeah, so a bill goes through this whole process of deliberation, discussion and voting from both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Then it is signed by the president, officially signifying that the bill is now an active law. What an ordinance allows the government to do is skip this entire process and get a law signed directly by the president. Temporarily. This is a special power that the president has, which has to be used only in emergency situations. But for the past 2 decades, all governments have exploited it and just completely bypassed the parliament and gotten laws signed and passed anyway. The UPA government cleared 61 laws in 10 years like this, and the Modi government in the first 7 years cleared 76 laws like this. These ordinances are cleared when the parliament is not in session. Once the parliament reassembles, when MPs fly into Delhi to sit in the now triangle building, the ordinance lapses. That's a whole thing by itself. So by having less sittings in parliament, the government gets more opportunities to clear laws using ordinances. And then once the parliament resumes, these laws are brought in and bulldozed through as if nothing happened. Wait, this is important. Let me show you how bad this can get. In December 2014, the Modi government issued an ordinance called Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Amendment Ordinance of 2014. The new law allowed the government to take over any land without giving a toss about social impact assessment surveys for purposes like national security, rural infrastructure, affordable housing, industrial corridors and social infrastructure projects. From that day onwards till February 23rd, 2015, when Parliament reassembled, this was an active law, which meant both state and central governments were free to go bonkers and acquire land. So the Parliament assembled and the law was introduced. There was intense opposition to it. Farmer groups protested across the country and demanded that the law should be scrapped. But because the National Democratic Alliance had majority in Lok Sabha, the bill was passed after an intense debate on March 10th, 2015. But then the bill got stuck in Rajya Sabha. LARR was stuck. The government was like, screw you people. We have Article 123. Woo, we don't need the parliament. And on April 3rd, 2015, when the parliament was not in session, this law was repromulgated, reintroduced as an ordinance for the second time. And then they did it again for the third time on May 30th, 2015. Then they just casually let the ordinance lapse and said they would not bring it back. So if you count the total number of days the law was actually active without getting the permission of the parliament, that would come to 164 days. Who knows what sort of shenanigans were done during those days, because it was an actual law. It's kind of crazy when you think about it, right? 61 laws have been cleared as ordinances in the first 7 years of the Modi government, which means these laws were active for varying periods of time without parliament approval. And this hasn't stopped. Last year, the government brought in the National Capital Territories Ordinance to reverse a Supreme Court judgment just to prevent the Delhi government from getting powers over services, control the executives, which a government is actually supposed to do. So it became obvious that our supreme leader and his government loves to use these emergency provisions in the constitution to crush opponents and maintain power. And the parliament just watches on pointlessly as this continues to happen. Number 4, sit-down committees. Way back in the year 1993, the parliament decided that there needs to be committees which go deeper into the business of the legislature and do deep scrutiny of what the government is up to, keep a watch on them, and also laws that it is proposing. In simple words, these committees are like mini parliaments that have members in them across party lines, and they are supposed to discuss a bunch of issues deeply that the larger parliament doesn't have the time to get into. These committees call stakeholders and government babus in to answer questions and help them do these deep dive studies. So, since 2004, only 45% of total bills have been referred to committees for consideration. And this is an average. But if you look at the UPA 2 time, they had referred 70% of the bills, and during the first 5 years of Modi government, by comparison, they have referred 30%. This is bad. In countries like United Kingdoms, all bills, all of them, 100% are sent to committees for deeper scrutiny. But our government seems to be in a tearing hurry to pass the laws and shove them down our throats. It's really important for you to see this and how this is a massive disservice to all of us, the citizens. This should matter to people who expect a competent government to make competent laws, not just produce words written on a piece of paper based on their whims and fancies. Yeah, it's something like this that I just did. So all of this that I just told you points to only one thing. The parliament is steadily becoming more and more pointless as an institution, unfortunately. You can definitely say that the previous Congress governments also did shitty things to this institution, sure, but Modi was brought in to kind of fix those shitty things, right? Like we collectively elected and chose Supreme Leader because he is supposed to fix things that the Congress hasn't in the last 70 years. Oh my god, so much bad last 70 years. Instead, they just decided to make it worse. Why? Why is the Modi government doing this? And this is where I need you to absolutely understand what is really happening. Your vote is worth nothing. You go one day and you just press a button and you're like, yay, I voted for party or person or whatever. But it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't. Hello there. Welcome to India, the world's largest theoretical democracy. What? What's that you say? Oh, you vote and you exercise your democratic right? Oh, you get to choose who comes to power? Ah? Oh, you sweet summer child.
The best way to go about it was to understand the whole system. If somebody intends to make a change in the system, he actually needs to understand it first.
Let me tell you how none of that really matters. Yes, we are a pretend democracy, a theoretical one. And no, it's not because of Modi ji. No, it actually goes way back. Way back. All the way back to 1967. In 1967, there was this MLA dude from Haryana called Gayalal. He once decided to have some fun and changed his political party thrice in a single day. Yeah, morning he was in one party, afternoon he was in another one, and evening he was in the third one. Fun. After that, it kind of became a common practice for MPs and MLAs to get elected from one party and then just switch midway into their term and join another party. It resulted in unstable governments and obviously seat buying shenanigans. So fast forward to 1985. Rajiv Gandhi's government had won an overwhelming majority in Lok Sabha. They brought in the 10th schedule through the 52nd Amendment to the Constitution of India. 52nd Amendment, 10th schedule. Sear this into your brains right now, because after this, your brain will have exploded a little bit. Okay, so what does this 10th schedule do? It's called the anti-defection law. It does a few simple things. One, if you are an MP or MLA that has been elected as a part of one political party, you cannot switch parties until the end of your term. Number 2, if MPs and MLAs want to switch parties, then 2/3 of the total strength of the party in either parliament or assembly has to switch as a block to another party. Number 3, an MP or MLA must follow the orders of the party whip when they vote in parliament or legislative assemblies. If they don't do that, then the Speaker of the House can disqualify and expel them from parliament or state assemblies. Okay, so for the first two parts, I told you about the law not letting MPs and MLAs switch parties randomly. Yeah, that makes sense in order to avoid the whole Gayalal fun time scenario, right? 3 parties in a day type thing. Absolutely. But where did the third one come from? Also, why? Why are MPs and MLAs being forced to vote in one way or another based on what the party leader wants? Think about it. You vote for your candidates who win and then go to parliament. In parliament, they give speeches, become loudspeakers, ask questions, and vote on bills, which then become laws. The logic here is that the MP is representing you, so they should vote according to what you want. Instead, because of the anti-defection law, the MP is voting according to what the party leader wants. If they don't obey, they get kicked out and lose their seat. This, ladies and gentlemen and horrified sweet summer children, is why our democracy is not really a democracy. It is a pretend theoretical democracy. We claim to be one, but it is only on paper, not in reality. And no, I want to repeat again, this is not Modi's fault. It is not. It is just the way it is. A system which exists to be exploited by any and every government that comes in. It's already there and Modi ji is just exploiting the hell out of it because it exists. Let me give you an illustration of how this can work. This is what our current Lok Sabha looks like. 543 total seats, but 21 seats are vacant. The current majority required to form government is 261. 290 members are from the BJP. So it's a comfortable majority. If a simple law needs to be passed through parliament, one person needs to issue a whip, order these 290 humans to vote one way or another by just pressing a button, and boom, law passed. Thank you, anti-defection law. Okay, if a constitutional amendment needs to be made, they need 2/3 majority, which comes to 348 seats. Here, technically, the BJP needs 58 more seats to change the constitution. But actually, they just need to do a few phone calls and cut deals with a handful of people. Like, Modi ji can call the leaders of BJD, YSRCP, BSP, JDU, and boom, 59 seats sorted. So, a total of 5 people can order their MPs to vote in favor of changing the constitution, and they will have to do it. Yes, 5 people controlled 2/3 majority of the Lok Sabha. Now, just imagine if opposition MPs get suspended in this scenario. What does that mean? I mean, they technically don't need to do it. I mean, just look at the numbers, then add an anti-defection law to it into this scenario, and yeah, they don't need to kick all of these MPs out to just pass laws, right? This is why I'm saying that the situation has become worse than before, and why Parliament is becoming so pointless. I started this episode by telling you about the MP suspensions that happened, and I'm going to come full circle to it. But I want you to look at this story a little differently now, with a different perspective. So, Modi has an intense and immense amount of power in parliament. He can snap his finger and bulldoze away in Lok Sabha, thanks to the shitty anti-defection law. If he snaps a finger and makes a few phone calls, he can force the Lok Sabha to make a change in the entire constitution. So, why then does he need to remove the opposition and suspend MPs and kick them out at all? The answer here is simple. He and his government cannot handle even the tiny whiny bit of criticism that the opposition presents. The insecurity is so high that they feel their entire government edifice will come crumbling down if one speech goes viral that is questioning the government really hard. And parliament is where that can happen. Even the fact that there are MPs in parliament who will scream, shout and oppose the government, they will question their policies and politics. Even a tiny bit of that is being projected as damaging to the country also sometimes. Simply put, in this theoretical democracy where your votes already don't matter, Modi is making sure even your voice doesn't matter by muting and kicking out opposition MPs. Did that blow your mind a little bit? It did, didn't it? A little bit? I mean, don't lie, it did. Okay, maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but well done. You have made it this far, so take this. Yay! Thank you. Second mental health break. So fun. It was nice, no? I think so. Yeah. I mean, और क्या ही कर सकते हैं, right? You know, what else can we do other than doing crazy shit on camera and seeing if, you know, people get relaxed after looking at this, because I want you to be relaxed. I don't want to give you so much stress. There's already too much stress in life, cuz don't want to give you more than there is already there, right? You know, it's just like, I guess everything is just pointless at this point. Nice. Anyway, one more chapter left. Thank you for making it this far, friends. Thank you. Genuinely. I genuinely don't know how long this episode already is because I'm still shooting. Duh. But I'll edit it and we'll see. But lamba jane wala hai ye. Lamba jane. Anyway, thank you. Subscribe. Do all the things. Also do consider becoming a member. And now it is time for the final chapter. It is the final chapter. It's the final chapter. Do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Final chapter. Writing this episode has been an extreme emotional roller coaster ride for me. I started my adult working life by working in the parliament. That was 13 years ago, 12 years ago, 13 years ago. How long has it been? Yeah, whatever. And over the years, I have come to understand the institution more deeply. That kid I showed you earlier, who wanted to understand the system.
To understand it first.
Yeah, I think he has come a long way and has understood some things a little better. I told you this is going to get personal. I still remember one particular day. I was working for the chief whip of a regional party, and we wrote a speech to oppose a law that was being presented in parliament by the Modi government. It was a fiery speech, you know, like we did all the work. And my boss went completely hammer and tongs against the government. Then, when voting came, the party leader ordered, vote yes. Vote yes. That broke my brain, genuinely. We had spent weeks preparing for that speech with good arguments against the whole thing. We put in amendments to edit the law. We went through committee reports and took their suggestions into account, spoke to stakeholders and experts, put in their inputs into the speech. We did it all. We did all the work that we were supposed to do. And my boss gave an impressive speech to oppose the law. And it didn't matter. It didn't. Because we had to vote yes. I still remember that day. I was the one who drafted a 3-line whip and my boss sent it to all members of the party because the party boss wanted it that way. The party boss was ordering them to be present and vote in favor of the law. It was heartbreaking. It was excruciating and it was kind of devastating when you see that happening up close. It just breaks you. I went up to my boss and asked, how does he rationalize all of this? Like, he's genuinely doing it, but how does he rationalize it for himself? And he told me something that I've been trying to tell you for this entire episode. We are not a democracy, my sweet summer child. The system is broken. Just deal with it. So, if it's broken, who will fix it? Is there anyone around who is even interested in fixing it? No, seriously, think about it. We had 2 big majority governments in our history. One is the Rajiv Gandhi Congress government, which passed the 10th schedule. That was the one that shackled the institution of parliament and castrated its powers, sterilized it utterly. Yes, that was a very obvious reference. And now, since 2014, the Modi government also has a majority to actually genuinely make this system better, to make this an actual democracy by removing the sins committed by that old government. You know, the ones that they keep first cursing all the time. But did they? Nope, they didn't. Instead, they took a castrated, sterilized parliament and put a gun to its head and pulled the trigger. So, I ask again, is there anyone out there who is thinking about the system we have? Is there anyone who is thinking of systematic and perpetuating reform? No, there isn't. Fade to black. Whew, okay, so I did all that, but I thought I didn't want to end this episode on a depressing note. I wrote a whole bunch after that because I was like, what am I leaving the audience with? And I don't want to end like this. I want to end on a hopeful note. Even after looking all of this, I genuinely, maybe even stupidly believe that things can get better. There are some little small changes that can be suggested to start with. You know, how can we save our parliament? If you ask me that, I will give you 5 things which I think can be changed about parliament to begin with. Number 1, increase the number of working days of parliament to at least 100 days a year, if not more. Number 2, with the extra days, give 1 day a week to the opposition loudspeakers to set the agenda. They would raise their issues on that day and the government must listen. It would genuinely end disruptions in parliament. Number 3, make it mandatory for every bill introduced in parliament to go to a committee for further study. Let stakeholders have their say so that the farmers situation doesn't repeat again, or even in the truckers protest that happened recently, it doesn't happen again because you draft shitty laws. The way to prevent drafting shitty laws is to send it to a committee and take their suggestions because they will do a deeper study. Oh yeah, and why not also live stream these committee meetings so that we know what is going on in them as well. Number 4, delete that part of the anti-defection law which forces our MPs to vote in a certain way. Let them talk amongst each other. You know, dialogue, debate, and convince each other. Let the government convince our representatives why they need to vote in favor of laws they propose, not order them to do it. Simple, yet And finally, number 5, encourage your MPs to continue questioning the establishment, to question the government. Support them when they do it. Doesn't matter which party they belong to. They care about their voters. I believe they care about their voters, and so should you. So, as voters and as citizens, we need to back them when they scream in our favor. And we need to ask the government to listen to them when they are screaming in our favor. And do something about it. Stop loving the authority. Stop loving the establishment. Stop loving people in power. Become an entitled citizen and challenge them instead. It is also more fun. Trust me, it is. Living in danger world. It is living on the edge. Questioning powerful people. Try it. See, 5 things which I think would be a good start. I don't want to lecture you about what you can do with all of this that I just told you over the last hour with all of this information. I'm not going to ask you to sign a petition or, give a call to action, because I believe that if you have reached till the end of this, till here, you are smart enough to figure out what action to take from here. Do you need to talk to people? Do you need to write to your MPs? Do you need to outrage about things? Do you want to share this episode? Do you want more people to be educated about this? Do you want to convert the information I gave you into more consumable format? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. You decide. You are smart enough to decide. but you need to act. Trust me, this is the time for some action. And please, for sake, save the parliament, save my parliament, save your parliament. Thanks for watching.